back to FABWATCH. It's like Baywatch, but instead of watching the Bay, we watch Fab. I'm here with John.
How's it going?
Good. We're talking about generic staples today. Where they're at.
Sounds
Some are good
crazy.
deals right now, some are maybe not so much. But there are options. And so I know personally a bunch of players that are just starting to get into the game. So I figured this might benefit them to know about a couple of these things. Because I know some of them are looking to build their first competitive CC decks and looked at the prices of certain equipment cards and were like, "What? Do
Yeah,
not be
and
afraid. There is a
yeah,
way around.
there is
You
a
are
way.
just
There is a way.
playing in your armories. You are not going to Pro Tour."
Yeah, you're fine. You're fine.
And
And I have to say, I saw it too. We talked about this maybe 6 months ago. The last big wave of new players. I don't know if it's Pro Tour. I don't know what it is, but
yeah,
the
Worlds I
number of
think the last one
new.
was.
What's that?
Worlds was the last big like bump up.
Yeah, yeah, and ton of new people. New. Hey, I'm new to Fab. Reddit posts and things like
Yep.
that. Like it's cool. It's awesome to see the next wave come in. So
Yeah.
welcome, new players.
They
We
do
will help.
tend to come around draft sets. Like Uprising was the last.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But
Cool.
so we're going
Let's
to
jump
start
in.
with Crown of Providence, the generic staple headpiece right now. Rainbow foil sitting at 238 has had a recent climb.
Yes, it did. Very pricey.
Was sub 200 last month.
Wow. Cold foil's over up to 400 now, huh?
Gold foil is no.
The
Yeah.
one sold
Yeah.
for
One sold. Yeah.
393. Yeah.
Yeah. 348.
Right before that. Yeah, I
Yeah.
saw that.
So not that the new players need to look at gold
Yeah,
foil,
no, you don't need to worry about
but
that. I just saw it on the side there. I was like, wow.
yeah. Also we are at so we're at 238.80. And then we have a decent supply till 250. But I mean, again, you only need one of these. And this is the generic competitive headpiece. There are classes that you can play that have a better headpiece. They just use that instead. But typically, you will see this in a lot of lists. So that's kind of what we decided to pull this week's cards out. Just generic cards that you're going to see in a lot of lists if you're a
Hmm.
new player starting to build. One card that you will not see a lot of, however, Arcanine Skull Cap.
It's good.
If you're a new player on a budget looking to,
Maximize your dollars.
yeah, and maybe not spend almost $300
Yeah, on
on
that card.
just the
Yeah.
headpiece, there's Arcanine Skull Cap.
It's
Perfectly
very good.
fine for armories. Very good. You'll get 3 blocks out of it most games. The Everfest version's at 54. The Arcane Rising version is at 64.
Yeah. Yeah, it's
The
very
gold
reasonable.
version's at 10,000.
It's fine.
It's
No, it's
reasonable.
fine. No, it's all reasonable. It's kind of interesting the gold version's listed.
Yeah. Now, this has been pretty flat for a while.
It's very functional.
Yes.
We all played with it. A lot of
Yeah.
older players. It was the Crown of Providence before the Crown of Providence.
Yeah. This was the headpiece that you saw everyone playing with. And it used to be a very expensive card over a year ago.
Yeah, it was a long time.
But we've moved on to Crown of Providence. But Arcanine Skull Cap is still a card. If you are looking to fill that headpiece with a good legendary, Arcanine Skull Cap, perfectly viable. Another generic, newer piece that I think is going to see a lot of attention and a lot of play in Dusk Till Dawn competitive season. Vambrace of Determination.
Yeah, I think this is
Rainbow Foil's only
underpriced.
$35.
Yeah,
Well, I mean, it's the newest set. It's being opened a lot right now.
sure, but
So
I just don't want. I think it's underpriced. It's a
well, it's
generic
fine.
legendary.
Yes, correct. Correct. It's very good against Oldhim right now, but when Prism comes back, you imagine that's going to be pretty good.
Yeah, if you're a deck with resources, this allows you to negate one of the shields, and that can sometimes be the difference between a hit and not hit.
And on
So
Warriors, you want to hit. So
yeah, you need to hit. It's
yeah,
all about the warriors.
yeah.
Clearly,
I mean, it's Flesh and Warriors.
Talk Dory to me, Tommy. Talk Dory to me. That was the best comment, by the way. If you're out there, you made our day. You made our day.
I did really laugh at that.
I died. I was like,
I
"What the heck?"
I appreciate a good pun, and that was
That was good. It was perfect.
exceptional. Um, Next up, we have E-Strike. Now, there's not much of a difference. There's still $6 in savings, almost $5-ish in savings between the white border and the black border of E-Strike. We're not going to look at the rainbow foil, but when
Don't
you
look
are
at it.
looking
It's
at
painful.
cards, remember white borders do exist. They are white borders. They do look tacky, but they are playable cards.
Wow, don't be mean.
I'm
What
not
if
being
people
mean.
like what if people like it? That's not
Some
objectively true.
people like tacky.
That's your
If people like tacky, they're allowed to like tacky.
yeah.
I have
Nice.
nothing against it. It's just not going in my deck.
It's
I'm
just
sorry.
terrible.
I have my play set of E-Strikes,
Sure. Gotcha.
and they're black border. Moving on, we got Command and Conquer.
Oh, this one's always going to be a challenge.
Yeah. So we're going to ignore this one right here. We're going to look at these two. Now, this has been down before. We'll take a closer look at these.
Yeah.
All right. For the past year.
Oh, the stupid first edition rainbow really distorts the chart.
It does.
You-
Settings. Yeah.
Oh, cool. I didn't know you could do that.
Yep.
That's super useful.
Science. Yeah, so we'll get rid of the first edition too. And yeah. So we can see over the year, I mean, it was in the 60s, it was in the 70s, but it was also, it hit 110.
Yeah. It has its
back down to
dips.
86. It does look like we're entering a small dip, but I don't know.
It's hard to call that one.
Yeah. Comparing it to the white border here, it capped at 86, so we're not far off of its high right now. The market price is currently $80. We're at $83, but we've sold at 84. Command and Conquer is one of those cards that you can decide whether or not it is worth it to you later.
It's true.
When you are first starting out and you're just playing in local armories, there are tons of cards that are pennies, that are almost there. They don't have the defense reaction, they don't have the arsenal destruction, but what they do have is a very similar 2-cost, 6 attack, but my opponent doesn't want it to hit.
Yeah.
Like Humble. I preach the good word of Humble quite a bit. I just did it in the podcast. I'll do it here again. How much? 3 cents, 4 cents for Humble? It's in the new set. It's a generic. It's a rare.
Yeah.
And
It's
it
super
turns
cheap.
off your hero ability. It turns off your opponent's hero ability.
It's pretty good.
A lot of heroes in the meta right now don't want that to happen. So you are getting the same effect and pulling cards out of their hand.
Yeah, it's the force block thing. And there's a bunch of 6s that just got released kind of to work with Azuri, I think. I'm sure other reasons too, but that's definitely one of the reasons.
Yes.
So, yeah.
So, just because you see this in your list does not mean that you need it. And if it is the majority cost of your list, which probably is, replacing it with something and then deciding if you want to invest in this later. This has been bouncing around this price and slightly lower for a long time. Now, with supply dwindling and time going on and more players entering the market, what does that mean? No one knows.
It's going to go up eventually, but hopefully they keep reprinting it. There's
Correct.
no reason for them not to.
Yes,
in my opinion.
Exactly. This is a card that can be reprinted. It was as a Fable, did nothing for the regular Black
No, that didn't change anything.
But
I was like, well, they did technically reprint it,
Yes,
but
they
this
did.
is not what we were expecting.
Yeah. And I mean, you do have the white border if you're okay with those tacky things. And you save about 10, 15 bucks. I mean, it's not terrible. I think really opening history pack seems pretty good, like a pretty good recommendation for new players.
Maybe. Yeah, I don't know. I've opened a few of those packs and it didn't feel like it was really worth it, but that's from the perspective of I already have a lot of stuff, you know?
Yeah, like if you were building
Um,
a collection.
yeah, if brand new into it and you don't have some of those core cards, because it is like a normal pack where it's like commons,
Yeah,
rares, and
uh-huh.
sometimes you'll get a majestic. So like getting Command and Conquer is probably really hard in history pack. Maybe
Yeah,
even harder than getting it in the originals. I'm not sure. Because remember it's multi-sets that are there, so the odds I don't know what the odd difference is, and there's more packs per box, like,
there
it's
are more
very
packs per
skewed.
box,
Yeah,
yeah.
it's very skewed. I don't know
I have
how the
not
odds
opened
are.
any. I have not
Yeah,
opened
I've
any.
opened it, and it doesn't feel like you're getting the awesome stuff very, very frequently. It feels like opening a regular box, like, it's rare, you know?
Yeah.
So,
I mean, I have seen some, like, 2 I've seen a bunch of now I don't know if these are people posting these box openings just because they all did well, but I've seen a significant amount of box openings of history packs where, like, there was some there was some decent value in it, like a Command and Conquer, an Art of War, and one of the legendaries.
okay.
And, like, so you have
Yeah, that's
a
that's
chance to
a
hit
that
those things.
yeah, 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 that's awesome. Yeah, I've never opened a full box. I've only had a few packs here and there.
Yeah. Recommendation is always buy singles,
Yeah,
but if you have nothing, maybe start a
might be
collection
worth
with
it.
a couple history pack. Just roll the dice, see what you open. Maybe that knocks some things off of what you needed, and then you have a basis of cards from the first 3 sets. Moving on to the most divisive staple, price wise, Spring Tunic.
Yeah. This one's a rough one.
We can ignore the
It's
bottom ones.
very good.
So we have the white border at over $200. So that's the other thing. Maybe you just get a Tunic in
Don't
your
don't
history.
don't pretend that's likely. It's not likely.
It's
It's
not.
very unlikely, in fact.
I have seen it happen though. I have
I'm
seen
sure
it
it
happen.
does. I'm just saying, like, what are the odds? It's got to be pretty low. Like one in
Is
I
it
don't know what
lower
10
than
10 cases, something like that. Is that what it is? What are
what?
the
What's lower, opening a Tunic in History Pack 1 or opening a History Pack in WTR Unlimited?
you mean opening a tunic in WTR Unlimited?
Yeah.
I don't know. That's I actually, if anyone knows the stats on that, like the pull rates of stuff, I've never really looked into history pack in any depth. Hashtag us in the thing and point me to a link in the comments because I would like to know actually how it skews the odds of things.
Yeah.
Somebody has to have that data by now. It's been out forever.
Are they focusing on that though?
No, probably not.
Yeah.
That's why I'm curious what it is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Let's just take a quick look because we do have it has. I mean, and then the whole idea is, oh, we'll just reprint it. They have.
Hmm.
Um, so we'll start with WTR. Get rid of first edition. Over the past year, it was 150, 170, jumped up to 200, hit 300. So we
It's
are
clearly
down.
on the way down, right? It's coming down. No,
No.
that chart
Uh,
is deceptive.
yeah. Yeah. So we're at 274, but then we go back up to 289, 290.
Yeah.
So there's a couple available under 300.
Tunics are so tough. They're a very useful card.
Yeah, and so this goes back to our whole trend this week of just generic cards that you're going to see in a lot of lists. Of this obviously being the most expensive of the unlimited runs. So you can save a couple bucks if you still want a black border. If you still want to be classy and have a black border, but don't necessarily need it to be rainbow, you can save 50 bucks. Grab the one from Crucible of War Unlimited. And if you want to save some more, 10 bucks. No, not even. What is this? Near mint, 220.
It's
220.
crazy.
The white border is
Crazy.
the same price
That's what I
as
mean. I don't think it's
Crucible.
more common. I think it's still hard to come by, even in white border.
Wild.
Yeah, it is. It is. So, the rip-off version of this is the threadbare tunic.
No.
Oh, I wish.
No.
I kinda like it. So I've used it in place of Tunic in, like, some derpy decks that I've made.
Yeah.
Because it's like I really only need the one resource, like that turns resource, that thing that I'm trying to do or
Yeah.
whatever,
Yeah. Yeah.
and it's fine for that, but the sequencing's a pain in the butt because
Yeah.
it's gotta be
Exactly.
the last resource because of how it works, so
Right. So there's the Blossom of Spring, the one
that's a
from,
better one, yeah. That's
but
a
it
that's a
is an
better cheat.
action and you have to do it before. You can't
Yeah.
do it at instant speed. You can only do it once and it breaks. Um, what
That's probably the
was
best cheap replacement.
it's not even really a replacement though, because the reason why Tunic is so good is because, and it's only really good in CC. It's because of how long the game goes and how much value you get out of it.
Oh, I understand. I'm just saying if you don't have the choice of having this and you wanna have a resource chess piece,
Right.
yeah, you're probably right though. At that point, it's probably better to just go find a different chess piece.
Yeah.
Like if you're running Iron Rot instead of Tunic because you have nothing else, then consider Spring or whatever it's called,
Yeah.
Blossom.
Spring Blossom.
Um, but otherwise, yeah, just find a better chess piece that does something more synergistic.
And a lot of classes do. Like Dash has her Tekla Foundry, and
Yeah,
then Guardian has tectonic plating.
I
Assassin
think
can play Shroud.
I was gonna say I think every class has a chess piece, doesn't it?
Mm,
Ranger? No Ranger chess pieces there.
I don't think so.
Okay.
Not that's coming to mind.
Wizard, it's really
Oh, they play. They don't. They play. Sometimes play Tunic. Sometimes play Spellfray Cloak.
okay.
I think it's called.
Yeah, yeah.
But I mean, and then in Blitz, you know, there are lots of better cards than Tunic. So it's really like when if you are a new player, I think Tunic is the card you need. Most players will need to compete in CC. But if you are sticking and learning on Commoner and Blitz, which I highly recommend, if you're coming from other card games, maybe and you just want to hop into the competitive scene, you feel like you're there, then sure, go buy a Tunic. But if you want to ease your way in, there are formats and there are heroes that allow you to play competitively at a cost effective level. By dodging a few of these, just know that the cards you're spending money on aren't going to be as transferable, if that makes sense. Like this is more of a commitment to the game. Like you're because you're spending a lot more money, but if you are but you will get a lot more playtime out of these cards than if you pick a class, don't like that class, and then now you have a bunch of cards for that class that you don't care about. And whereas Tunic, if you get Tunic, you can play that in almost any one of your decks.
Yeah. It's definitely a pretty universal tool.
But yeah, just thought it'd be interesting to point out some of these. Are there any other generic staples that you're thinking about that we didn't cover? Leave us down in the comments.
What about the
And
new ones? Tell us your favorite new generic that you think will become a staple in the future.
we covered it.
No, I'm saying
Bamber's
in
a
the comment.
determination. Oh,
I'm saying in the comments, people
okay.
tell us back like
Yeah.
what people think.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because I know there's some fans of like Down and Dirty, and I
Oh,
brought
yeah.
up
Yeah. Yeah.
that
Yeah.
other one, which I can't even remember the name of now. Give and
Give
take.
and
That's
take.
it.
Give and take is a
Yeah.
good one.
I'm not sure it is. A lot of people push back on that eventually. I don't know.
It's fun.
Uh, yeah, I think it's fun to pull off. Oh, like a race face is definitely one of those. That's like I think that's a pretty high. Like that's going to be one of the ones that goes forward.
I think it's meta dependent.
Totally, these are all going to be meta dependent at the end of the day. But I think a race has a fairly good future.
Yeah, because there are some heroes and classes that don't care if their
It
class and
doesn't
talent
matter.
types were taken off.
100%,
Like when
100%.
I'm
But then
playing,
like amnesia, right? Which is
yeah,
was it tokens lose their type? So it's like I think a race face is better than amnesia. Sometimes
There are
Amnesia
cards
is
and
better than
tokens.
Gray Space. But I don't know. Leave us a
Yeah,
comment. Let us know your favorite. What's the future staple generic? What's the future, like a Command and Conquer or whatever, however you frame it.
yeah. The 3 block, 6 attack, 2 cost with an on hit effect. That family of cards.
Yeah, there's a bunch.
But they're all very situational, and I think
Mhm.
they all have the chance to be sideboard options for different metas.
Yes. I think that's the
Like if
key.
Ninja
They
ever
will be.
became meta,
Yeah.
you better believe Amnesia's being played.
Why is that?
Cards and
Oh, because
tokens,
that will
they lose
stop
their
the
names.
so it loses the
They can't do combos.
yeah, the combos. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
And if anything with a talent,
Then it's gonna
erase
be,
face.
yeah. Yeah, yeah, of course.
So your light, your shadow,
Yeah, and that
that
one's
counts.
yeah, 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 for sure.
So I mean, they're $3 now. If you don't have erase faces, I'd probably get
That
them.
came down. They used to
Hmm.
be like $15.
Yeah, yeah, they're like $4. You can get a
Nice.
playset. This guy's 15.
Yeah. That's a pickup in my mind. Like, they're good. They'll be used.
Yeah,
That's gonna be in other decks. It definitely will. It might be sideboard, like you said, but it's
it
it's
will be
gonna be a
sideboard. Yeah.
tool. It's a tool that's used, so that's a good deal in my opinion.
Hmm. Never hurts having
Cool.
more sixes in your sideboard against illusionist. So
So,
having both
we've
Draw
talked
and
about, like
Prism in the meta.
yeah, exactly. We've talked about, like, sorting cards and stuff. It's like, I'll tell you, the one thing I don't sort out is my generics. I keep every single one I get because I know someday I'm gonna need one of those. I just it's not always true because you do have, like, the draft chaff.
Yeah,
It's not, like, good in its own right,
right,
but it's good
right.
in draft, but, man, it's just I can't bear to let them go. They're generics. They will be used in my mind.
Some of them, some of them.
Some of them. Yep.
But
Anyways.
cool. Anything else before we wrap this up?
Nope. That's all we got.
So until the market update on Thursday, we'll catch you guys later.
Have a good one.